This is a football field in Bloomington, Minnesota. Baltimore coach Don Shula had previously fared well in the Vikings' home stadium, as had other Colt veterans. In fact, they had only lost twice here since the Vikings were formed. But September 28, 1969 would belong to this man, Viking coach Bud Grant, and in particular to his California quarterback, Joe Kapp. I'm Andy Musser, and this is the NFL Game of the Week. Baltimore seemed organized and poised for the start of the game. Minnesota did not. The Vikings, however, left their seeming disorder in the pregame huddle. From the opening whistle to the final gun, football fans were about to witness a study in devastation. Joe Kapp, number 11, a quarterback who until today lived in relative obscurity. Kapp began his march into the record book on the first play with a scramble and completion to Dave Osborne. 2 plays, 2 completions, 2 first downs. This time to number 80, John Henderson. The Colts finally showed some defense on the 3rd play of the game, but on the 4th, the game only 2 minutes old, Kapp hit Osborne again, flaring into the secondary, 18 yards and a touchdown. On a repeat of the play from the ground camera, watch the Colts number 53, Dennis Gaubat's blitz. The blitz was caught in time and left Osborne open in the vacated area to make a picturesque catch of Kapp's throw. Fred Cox's first of 7 conversions made it 7-0. The Colts' first series showed spark at least for a while. Tom Matty, number 41, Baltimore's solid and versatile setback, gained 15 yards on 2 carries. Then a Johnny Unitas pass to tight end John Mackey was ruled complete due to an interference penalty, and the Colts were at the Viking 37. But one of many costly penalties later put the Colts back near midfield. On 3rd and 25, Jim Marshall and Carl Eller rushed Unitas so hard that his pass fell far short, and the first and only Colts threat of the quarter was over. Joe Kapp not only threatened, he delivered, and on the first play of the ensuing drive. This time he sent Gene Washington, number 84, on a fly pattern, and a perfect bomb had been exploded. It was now 14-0. Later in the quarter, it became evident that Unitas was off target and ineffective. Sometimes by a lot, sometimes by a little. Whether it was Johnny's golden arm or his offensive line, Unitas could not, as he has done for so many years, come up with the big play. Unitas' inaccuracy finally cost him when he was intercepted by linebacker Lon Warwick, number 59, to set up a 1st and 10 on the Colts 18. But the Colt defense then showed signs of its 1968 record-setting performance. On the last play, the Vikings line double-teamed number 74, Billy Ray Smith. This strategy backfired as Fred Miller crashed in unhampered and made the tackle. Then Kapp made his only mistake of the game. Gaubat's theft set the Colts up on their own 44 as the quarter ended. Down by 14, the Colts were now demoralized. They were about to be demolished. Earl Morrall replaced Unitas at the start of the 2nd quarter. Morrill is by now more than poised in his backup role, and the Colts seemed at first to prosper by his entrance. But Colt receivers were to have as rough a time as their quarterbacks. Richardson's drop pass forced an attempted 40-yard field goal by Lou Michaels, and this too failed. Joe Kapp again began to exploit the Colts secondary, virtually the same secondary that last year was one of the league's best. Stoops had replaced Bobby Boyd at the corner, but Kapp was working on all four defenders, not just Stoops, and they were indeed vulnerable today. Of course, Kapp's Houdini-like tactics made their job even harder. Kapp's ground game was minimal, even irrelevant. Yet ironically, it seemed to be the only area Baltimore could defense. Baltimore then capitalized on a break. Osborne, who was and would be magnificent throughout, had the ball knocked loose. Volk recovered for Baltimore on the 47. Earl Morrill then struck swiftly and brought a thus far one-sided game to within a touchdown of being equal on the scoreboard. The Colts' first score came on what is becoming a favorite play for all teams, a flare pass to the setback isolated on a linebacker. Here, Matty took a perfect toss from Morrill, and it was 14-7 midway through the quarter. The Vikings' next series was perhaps the key portion of the game. Baltimore's will seemed to dissipate by the end of this drive. Tight end John Beasley, number 87, started the drive, rolling with a great individual effort, good for a first down. Kapp then went for the end zone, but Lenny Lyles, number 43, hung close to Washington this time and almost had an interception. Kapp's accurate release from a rollout is perhaps his main asset as a passer. The pass to Brown fell incomplete, but number 32, Mike Curtis, was called for holding in his haste to fall on what he thought was a free ball. And instead of 3rd and 10, it was 1st and 10. Then destiny dealt the Colts another fatal blow. Brown fumbled, but the ball was right there when he reached for it. The Colts could ill afford to give Joe Kapp any extra downs the way he was passing. And 2 downs later, like clockwork, another spectacular play struck Baltimore. On a repeat of the play, Kapp's line held out Bubba Smith and company while he lofted a spiral toward the goal. You can see how it looked to defender Lenny Lyles. You can almost hear how it felt for number 27 receiver Bob Grimm. Grimm was ruled to have had possession in the end zone, and the Vikings went up 21-7 with only 3 minutes to play in the half. The Colts were shocked into playing desperate catch-up football. They had to hit long and quick. Of course, it backfired. Bobby Bryant's interception of Morrill's pass set up an eventual field goal that made it 24-7. Baltimore seemed to be on a treadmill to oblivion. As if planned, Morrill's first play after the field goal was, you guessed it, an interception. Carl Kasalki picked off the Vikings' 3rd steal of the half. 1st and 10 on the Colts' 22 with a minute to go. Already possessing the hat trick, Kapp's confidence was at a peak, and he refused to let up. Only a good save by Stoops prevented another score. A rare overthrown pass made it 3rd and 10. Now in a prevent defense, the Colts secondary gave Gene Washington room to catch this sideline pass for 9 yards. 4th and 1, 40 seconds left. Then the man who today would completely erase the image of another scrambler from Minnesota did it again. Kapp went to Kent Kramer all alone, 13 yards and a touchdown, Joe's 4th of the game. If Baltimore was in a horrible nightmare, Joe Kapp was in the never-ending dream of his career. With 28 seconds, Morrill futilely tried to mount a drive. But it was now obvious that this was one of those games for the Colts, who historically have had very few of them. But so far this year, Coach Don Shula and his NFL champions seem to be unable to turn the brakes their way, nor to execute properly when they get them. Of course, the Colts will probably be in Miami next January, but that's too bad. The Super Bowl this year is in New Orleans. The first half ended with Minnesota enjoying the finest game of its short 9-year history. Bud Grant highly values Joe Kapp for his considerable leadership abilities. But this year he hoped his quarterback would shed his unorthodox style and stay in the pocket more often. However, the start of the second half vividly demonstrated that Kapp is as wild and unpredictable as ever. But Kapp also appears to be a much improved thrower. Having the flashy Gene Washington to aim at helps considerably. Lean Gene badly beat cornerback Charlie Stukes for a 65-yard touchdown. Despite his unproductive first half, John Unitas was back at quarterback for Baltimore, and he was 31 points down. Jimmy Orr's diving sideline catch seemed to ignite the non-existent offense for the first time. Unitas then worked with his setbacks, Hill and Matty, on identical passes over the middle in an effort to break one loose. Each was met hard after the catch, however, by the Minnesota linebackers. The quarterback went to the man he so often has depended upon in the past, and Jimmy Orr didn't disappoint him. The 12-year veteran doesn't seem to have the speed or the moves anymore, but somehow he gets the job done, often spectacularly. Another view shows Orr broke several seemingly sure tackles on his weaving, bobbing voyage deep into Viking territory. Unitas came right back to Orr on the next play, and it drew an interference call on cornerback Bobby Bryant on the Viking 4-yard line. 1st and goal to go. Tom Matty swept through a gaping hole on the right flank for the score 6 minutes into the half. A 24-point deficit was a large order, but there was still a chance for the Colts if their famed defense could revert to form. But Kapp continued his amazing accuracy, and behind wonderful protection from his line, brought the ball into Baltimore land again. Then the Colts forced the big break their fans have come to expect of them. And in a flash, the NFL champions seemed to be back in the game. But a defensive holding penalty was called on linebacker Don Shinnick. And instead of a Colts score, there was a Viking first down. A look at the play again reveals Bubba Smith, number 78 at top left, beat his man Doug Davis and blindsided Kapp. Number 85, Roy Hilton, scooped up the ball on one bounce and ran 60 secluded yards for the apparent touchdown. The play may have counted for nothing, but Joe Kapp probably wouldn't agree. He never did see who did the damage. Like he's done so often, Kapp shook it off and stung the Colts with a big play. Behind picture-perfect trap blocking, Brown plummeted 15 yards to the Baltimore 12. A closer look shows the jarring journey the fullback took through the heart of the Colt defense. Then Kapp went through the air to Brown, but the highly arched pass was knocked down by linebacker Mike Curtis. Kapp's strategy on the play was to send Brown out of the backfield on a circle pattern, which isolated him with the linebacker. But the swift Curtis, one of the best young linebackers in the game, stayed with him all the way to make the save. Then Kapp went to the other setback, Clint Jones, at the left sideline for 7 yards to the Baltimore 5. After 2 running plays failed to gain, Kapp rolled out and threaded a pass to number 87, John Beasley, who simply out-muscled safety Rick Polk, number 21, for the trophy. The drive had consumed over 5 minutes. The lead had bounced to 31 points. The devastation that was the Viking defense today continued on the next series. A flat pass to Matty was broken up by number 58, 6-year veteran Wally Hilgenberg. Then Unitas tried Mackey over the middle, but had too much company. The Vikings punctuated their superiority when on a 3rd and 10 pass play, Unitas was forced to run and paid for it as number 70, Jim Marshall, with great pursuit, struck from behind. A Colt recovered the weird fumble. Again, we see the fury of the Viking rush as yet another series and quarter ended for Baltimore. Joe Kapp was on the sideline, and Gary Quazzo, who had started the season as the regular quarterback, took up where his predecessor had left off. His looping pass to John Henderson covered 32 yards. The Vikings were moving again, and it appeared the drop-off so many experts had predicted for the Baltimore defense when 2 regulars retired was indeed happening. However, Quazzo, who had once backed up Unitas in Baltimore, was intercepted by O.C. Austin on the 3-yard line. The next time Minnesota had the ball, Kapp was back in the lineup. It had been discovered he was just a few yards from breaking a team record for passing in a single game. A pass to Beasley got a chunk of it. A lob to number 35, 2nd-year man Bill Harris got the rest. Kapp, a man who was to have been replaced because of doubtful passing ability, came out of the game to a standing ovation. Quazzo was back at the controls and unloaded despite being necktied. Henderson made a juggling reception at the sideline. Quazzo was so shaken on the previous play he had to be replaced by a fellow named Joe Kapp, who despite an interrupted rest continued the surprising onslaught with perfectly placed passes. The Colts were simply helpless to stop him. With this rollout pass to Jim Lindsey, Joe Kapp became only the fourth man to throw 7 touchdown passes in a single pro game. 2 of the quarterbacks who did were named Tittle and Luckman. The other, Adrian Burke, was officiating at this game. Joe Kapp had joined them with one of the greatest displays of passing in the history of the NFL. For the rest of the game, the Minnesota defense took over and assured Baltimore's worst defeat in 7 years. The Colt runners met a wall of pounding purple shirts each time they carried the football. John Unitas, who had seemed completely recovered from his arm ailments, remained ineffective. He was replaced by Earl Morrall, who saw a perfect pass go through the hands of rookie Eddie Hinton. Even the usually punishing John Mackey was himself taking a beating. Number 70, Jim Marshall, ended a perfect day in his own special manner. The Vikings had beaten Baltimore in every phase of the business. And in the second game of the season, Coach Grant achieved a personal and vital objective, that of beating the big teams. For the Colts, it may only be the start of a surprisingly long season.